And now for the rest of Histories, no longer mysteries. Mysteries, 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 mysteries. So, we had stopped on Mothman. And that was a really interesting one because we did not necessarily get extraterrestrial. And I had a separate remote viewer do this target, but didn't say what the target was. Didn't say it was Mothman. I said this is a series of interconnected incidents associated with a series of tragedies. And that's all the person knew. It was associated with a series of tragedies. And the person put together a creature being involved, and the creature had a consciousness thing and a time thing and a real physical aspect, and it was not a space alien. And so it's interesting. Maybe it was an extension of our consciousness because terrible things happened, or some people have psychokinesis and transformed it from the past to the future. It could be a retrocausal. Who knows? But something really fascinating happening there. And that opens the possibility for so many of these different other weird incidents that don't have a simple button together ending, but have incredible evidence for, from the Jersey Devil to all sorts of other types of cryptids that are only seen incredibly rarely, but the evidentiary value is huge for, like, I think the Loveland frog, where like the cops saw a giant, 6-foot tall frog and they shot at it. All sorts of different ones. Anyway, so we had done Mothman, which opens up many cool possibilities. Next is the crystal skulls. Are the crystal skulls really this interconnected ancient warning device or weapon to save us from asteroids or knowledge thing? No. I was kind of sad to discover this. I really wanted there to be an interconnection between all of the skulls and that they did something together and they were spread all over the planet by some... No. There was, from what we got, it was all a very natural thing of a couple skulls had been created by different cultures, and of course, beautiful clear rock would have been prized, and some were done as skulls, and then there's a bunch of counterfeit ones done later. That's what we got. Next, so the crystal skulls are all basically semi-normal, but they did have powerful cultural reasons. Some of them did in different locations. There's a Mayan one that apparently had a lot of power or energy associated with it and granted certain abilities to the possessor. Next, does the Ouija board really communicate with ghosts? This is an interesting question, and I had difficulty with this. I didn't give this to anyone else. I handled this one on my own. So, it's possible my feelings or thoughts may be wound up in the results. But so much of me believes that, a lot of effects we associate with other things are really effects created by our own consciousness or subconsciousness. Like our dreams are able to create things. Our waking moments are able to create things as well. After all, everything's mostly space anyway. There's so little matter between anything, really. So the Ouija board, in a way, does attract real ghosts. You can communicate with those beyond through tapping into the field. And oftentimes it elicits psychokinesis of the user. Psychokinesis of the users. See, this is the excitement of living in the Bronx. You have to go with the flow and the tide. And I'm not going to fight music like that. I'm going to join it when it happens, right? Right on. And that's how you should take moments in life of adversity. I could have been like, oh, that ruined the video. I'm going to stop and been upset. But no, it made me feel great for a moment. I bought into it. So the Ouija board does have the ability to open up the psychokinesis of participants. It also has the ability to allow participants a kind of a magic feather to access the field and thereby make connections to all sorts of different things. I don't believe in my whole lexicon and everything in negative entities, negative beings. I believe that negative forces can come through consciousness, and those can be extracted many different ways, and your habits can be changed many different ways. But I don't believe in the negative evil ones. I believe those are oftentimes associated with people involved and extensions of their consciousness and psychological issues that need to be addressed. We all have issues of some level. Then someone gave me this one, and I had to answer it, and it's a really tough one. And this one's kind of associated with the Ouija board one. This was life. Is there life after death? And this is one I really kind of didn't want to do, and I did, and I got an interesting series of answers back through associative remote viewing. And associative remote viewing gives you yeses and nos based on how exact your drawing is of pictures associated with the answers, and you can go through a series of answers that way and get very specific stuff. So life after death, it's what you want, essentially. There is reincarnation, and there is advancement of souls, and there is a little bit of carryover, and it's like a simulation, a character that, you know, just gets the framework gets put on a tree that gets new leaves each time. So there is life after death in different forms, different ways. And if you want nothingness, you can have nothingness. This was a weird one I've always been curious about too. The Russian female astronaut audio. There's this very creepy audio that was thought to be a hoax of this Russian woman who's an astronaut, truly believe was in a satellite and died in the early Russian space program, and the Russians never acknowledged it. And there's these two brothers who listened to a lot of these things and recorded a strange piece of audio that sounds like that. But there's different pranksters and fake audio people also associated in the fringes. And so anyway, the amazing thing is it's true. There was a female Russian astronaut, and hopefully someday the Russians will come out and admit her bravery and how amazing she was, and she gave her life for the Russian space program, and she deserves acknowledgement. Then number 10 is from a very dear friend. Wanted to know if there really is treasure on Oak Island and the Money Pit. This one is interesting. I'm working with an archaeological society. I'm also doing a archaeological thing with a friend who's a Civil War buff in Virginia, and so finding objects like this and treasures and stuff is something that I'm really enjoying doing right now. Anyway, what I found and the vibes that I got were, it's kind of like the Great Pyramid. They were going to put this big thing there. There is a whole system there. Those things where they think are the tunnels and the outflows of water, they were created that way. The pit really is the pit. It was created to be a treasure pit. And at the last minute, something changed. Something changed, and they made it into almost a prank. They left items in there on the way up as they filled it in. They left the system working so the system would work. It may even have served as a test platform for the real location. And the real location is not too far away. But I also have a treasure that's at a location not too far away, on an island not too far away, that's associated with a word that's translated to mean either the meadow or the garden. It's a gardener's island, Gardenia Island, Gardenia, vegetable island, something like that. That's the one that has a treasure, and it's associated with another famous a person from history also as well. And that's 10. But you get a bonus one, and the bonus one today, combination if you saw both episodes, is the Natalie Wood story. She died on the boat. She fell off the boat in the middle of the night. There's several famous people on the boat, and her husband was Robert Wagner, and I think James Carradine was on the boat too, other famous witness. Anyway, what we got is that other famous witness also heard them fighting. Robert Wagner and Natalie were fighting that night. He essentially murdered her. I think he was strangling her at one point in the back, and he smacked her or something, and she stumbled and fell backwards off the boat. And he was so angry he didn't even want to chase her down. I don't think it was murder, an intentional, I'm going to murder her on the boat, but he did murder her. They were drunk and fighting and everything. And the other famous friend has been covering all of these years, heard the fighting, heard the noise, heard the splash, but didn't know if the splash was really real or not. And definitely wanted to stay out of it because of Robert's very aggressive personality. So that's it, my friends. Histories, no longer mysteries. These take a lot of time and effort, but I love doing them. I love finding the resolutions to these things. So thank you so much for enjoying it so much that I've repeated it, and I really appreciate your guys' support. These the views of Histories No Longer Mysteries are those of mine and the makers of this production. Much love, guys. Love each other in action. Love is not a noun, right? It's a verb. Love is caring in action. Without action, love is almost meaningless. So create love action today.